Well, when I first walked into the convention center on Tuesday afternoon, I was energized by the sight of all of the people who had gathered for this year's Eradicate Hate Global Summit. And I've been carried by your energy throughout the last 3 days. So let me begin by thanking all of you for being a part of this and being so committed to the mission that binds us all together. There are a number of us who were not as visible over the course of the last couple of days as you might have expected, and there is good reason for that. Even though we were missing in action, we were not absent without leave. And instead, we have been working on the high school summit that occurred in parallel with all of these activities yesterday and spilled into this morning. And I just want to tell you that it seems to have been an incredible success. Yesterday, we had teams from 10 different high schools, each consisting of, or 14 different high schools, each consisting of 10 students and 2 teachers or administrators who came together to view the film, Repairing the World, Stories from the Tree of Life, and then to plan for what they might do back in their home schools and districts to advance this cause. The ingredients to our success can be seen in the collage of photographs. We had a wonderful tool for engaging and educating students in the film that had been produced by Patrice O'Neill and the Not in Our Town organization. We had a wonderful team of leaders, including Nick Haberman from the Light Initiative, David McDonald, the superintendent of the South Allegheny School District here, and Bob Scheer, the executive director of the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, who were ready to swing into action. We had a perfect partner organization in the Allegheny Intermediate Unit because it is an organization that exists to support all of the public school districts in Allegheny County, and so they are accustomed to doing work like this. But more than anything else, we had a room full of eager, energetic, committed students who responded to the message and who we know are really going to answer the call in going back to their own schools and building upon this experience. Last year, the students at South Allegheny were here. They saw the film. They went back to their home district. They created an Eradicate Hate Club. They had a second showing of the film, not only for other students, but for their parents and for community members. And then they developed a year's worth of programming to follow. And we're hoping that we will have somewhat different but similar plans in terms of their impact in the other districts this year. And this morning we had a standing room only audience that gathered for our working group's breakout session. Most importantly, that group did include representatives from more distant locations who also are eager to replicate the successes that we had here and to begin expanding the impact of these programs. So again, this was a new initiative of the summit this year, and it seems to be a source of hope for moving into the future. I really do want to thank all of you for being here. And we're about to hear, I think, from Laura and Chuck, some other thank yous that need to be said before we part company. One that really needs to be expressed is a particular thank you to Laura. Hundreds of people really have contributed to the successes of the summit, and I would not ever want to say anything to diminish their efforts, but there really has been one irreplaceable ingredient in our formula for success, and that has been Laura, who has combined not only the vision that led to the creation of this initiative, but has the kind of focused follow-through and the kind of almost unique, and if not unique, world-class networking skills that make people want to be a part of it and make them feel good about the fact that they did make the commitment to come here and spend their time and share their talents. So as I invite her to come to the podium, would you please join me in congratulating and thanking Laura?
Thank you all for being here. I think the high school summit is a testament to the hope of the world, which is our young people. I see that in my son. I know you see that in your children. And we see that in these remarkable students. But it is also a testament to a life-changing teacher. And for me, Mark Nordenberg was a life-changing teacher. Some of you know this. He was my professor in law school 40 years ago. And when we decided to start the summit, it was the first person I called. So he is an extraordinary gift to this community and to this summit, and it is truly the honor of my lifetime to be able to work with him on the summit, so just so you know. In this year where we are embarking on the next chapter of our existence as an independent entity, it is appropriate, I think, for me to give a special thank you to my law firm, Jones Day. On 10/27, when I watched what was going on my television in my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I knew that we here in Pittsburgh had to be a major part of the solution. And on 10/28, I called the managing partner of my law firm, and I told him what I thought we needed to do. And he said 3 words to me: whatever you need. And since 2018, what the summit needed was administrative support. It needed funding. It needed me to devote my time, almost full time sometimes, to the summit and to all of you. It required an army of lawyers and administrators and support people and travel. And Jones Day provided all of those things on a pro bono basis. And I think, when we decided we were going to start a 501c3, Jones Day provided the legal resources to create the entity to spin it off. And I think, I feel incredibly blessed to work in a place that understands that the private sector and that those of us who are blessed with many gifts really do have an obligation to step up and bring what we can to the table. We all have something different, but we were a big law firm, and we had an ability to do something that was important, that was global, and that needed to be done. And I am so honored to be able to work in a place where we stepped up and did that. And I'm honored to be joined in that work by a couple of people that I hope you will allow me to thank right now, some of whom you've already talked to quite a bit. One is my assistant, Heidi Rosier, who is here. The firm thinks she works for me. Actually, she knows I work for her, and she's been invaluable. Amy Zwicky and Natalia Thomas. If any of you who received an email at 3 o'clock in the morning from Amy, just absolutely incredible. An invaluable and irreplaceable colleague, Kyle Graper, was a material part of building this summit, as were all the greeters that you met, the people who signed you in, the people who printed your program, the person who organized all your prep calls, the person who got your hotel straightened out when it was kind of screwed up. They were all Jones Day people, and I am blessed to call them my colleagues. Many of them are here in the room taking a good, well-deserved sit down, and so will you please join me in thanking them and in thanking this very special place. And it's worth mentioning, I don't think it's a coincidence that it was a law firm that was involved in birthing something like this, because I have been really privileged in my lifetime to devote myself to a profession that is steeped in a pro bono culture. Pro bono, for good, for free, for good. And all of the things that have been done for the summit have all been done pro bono. And all of the things that all of you have done for us, your participation in the working groups, the connections you've helped us make, the phone calls you've been on, the meetings you've sat in, the last minute 3 o'clock. We do a lot of things at 3 o'clock in the morning. All of you did that pro bono, for good, and out of the goodness of your hearts. And so one of the things that I really hope that the summit will help us do is spread the culture that I know in my profession to all of your professions, and that each of us, as citizens, as professionals, as human beings in this world, understand that what we can do for one another is pro bono, what we do for good. And I mentioned Mr. Rogers before, and when I was a kid, when I was a babysitter and lived in New York, I grew up in New York, and I would watch more hours of Mr. Rogers when I was babysitting than I really cared to. And I went home one day and I said to my mom, "Oh, he is such a dork. He is so uncool." And my mother, who never spoke sharply to me, she said, "You sit down." And so I did. And she said, "Do you know that there are some children in this world that have no one who will ever say a kind word to them other than that man on that TV? How dare you? How dare you think that's uncool?" And so I share my mom's words with you now. How dare we think that kindness is uncool? So I will leave you with 3 of Mr. Rogers' quotes. If you ever come to my office, and I hope you do, I have a whole thing of quotations taped above my desk. And one of them is, Mr. Rogers says, "When you're in trouble, look for the helpers. And this world is in trouble, and you are the helpers." And he also said, "Often, when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. So you think you're at the end of this summit? This is the beginning of our work together over the next year that we'll be on this stage talking about a year from now." And the last thing that Mr. Rogers said, and that my mother reinforced for me, he said there are 3 ways to ultimate success. Way number 1 is to be kind. Way number 2 is to be kind. And way number 3 is to be kind. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being our summit people. And it is now my great privilege to turn the podium over for our last words to the president of the summit, my former partner and my former boss, Chuck Molenberg, one of my beloved Jones Day colleagues. Thank you.
Let me add my thanks to all of you for being here. You make the summit. You are the summit by taking the time out of your busy lives to come here and share your best thoughts and your ideas. I know that many of you didn't have the opportunity to be up on the stage this year, maybe next year, but we do want to hear from you. So take the time as you maybe are traveling back or next week as you're reflecting on things that we could be doing, should be doing, to let us know. We really want to have your ideas. We are planning to do this a bit more formally with a survey, a little short questionnaire that I hope you will take the time to send back to us. But even without that, I mean, you all, I'm sure, as you're sitting out there thinking of why don't they do this or that through a working group? Those are the ideas we'd like to have, and we can feed those back to the people who can consider them and get them put into action. As you can imagine, there's just an army of people that are needed to put on a conference like this. Unfortunately, time wouldn't allow to thank everybody individually, but Sheila Weiner, our event planner, I don't think she's slept in the last month, but she has done just an incredible job. I'd like to thank Sheila. Personally, the audio tech team, I'm sure, I mean, you can tell. I mean, these are first-class, world-class pros. They never miss the beat. They are terrific. Our communications team, led by Deborah Keller-Maxon, has been wonderful. Tim Hines, setting up the website, all the signs that you saw to get you to the right place, into the right room, were done by Tim's group in a way that I think added to the summit rather than detracted. In the convention center itself, I mean, its staff, the security, levies who prepared the food, I mean, all of this adds up together. We hope to make your time here in Pittsburgh memorable for a good reason, and that it will encourage you to come back again next year. We obviously couldn't do this without our funders, and many, many thanks to all of our benefactors who are mostly here in Pittsburgh. They have had the confidence, beginning with Laura and Mark a couple years ago and continuing to this day in the summit to give us the funds that we need to bring our world-class speakers here into Pittsburgh and put on this conference. We couldn't do it without them. And I said at the beginning of the conference that one of the reasons I was so happy to join the summit as president is because of the terrific board we have. You've seen now many of our board members, and you now know what I mean. It's such an outstanding group of people, and again, we couldn't put on this summit without their help. They make it so much better, so thank you. All I can say in closing is I hope this conference has inspired you like it inspired me 2 years ago to get involved. There are many ways you can get involved with the summit to help projects to their completion, to contribute your ideas. And we encourage you to do that. Getting you involved personally will just enhance the work that we can do. For those of you who were not able to attend in person and are watching on live stream, thank you for joining us remotely, and we look forward to seeing you in person next year, and we hope you can make it. We know that we packed a lot into this conference, and there were breakout sessions happening at the same time as the plenary session. You can't see everything that's going on, but we have taken videos of the plenary sessions. Those are getting loaded up, I think, as I speak, and by next year will be, next week, will be available. And so take the time, if you missed a plenary, to go back and watch the videos. I think you will see that what a talented group of people we have had again this year. So again, many, many thanks for being here. I hope you experience kindness in your travels back home, and we wish you smooth, safe travels. And we'll see you next year.